Welcome to the Playful Domme, the Poly Wife, and the Virgin podcast, where we share our most intimate stories, experiences, and details of our love lives, our intimacy lives, our play lives, and giving you the opportunity to gaze in and get a glimpse of what could be possible in your life as well. As we share our stories, our adventures, we weave in tips, tricks, and techniques to help build your confidence, boost your courage, and give you the opportunity to ask for what you want in your life. Welcome to the podcast. Oh, and just a couple of quick thoughts before we get started. One, we are just everyday people. We are not professionals, licensed therapists, anything like that. This is for edutainment purposes only. This is not medical advice or legal advice, financial advice, nothing like that. Listen at your own discretion. And this is for mature audiences. We're going into deep subjects and sharing deeply about intimacy and all the things about that. So just notice who you're around and let's go. So welcome everyone to the Playful Domme, the Poly Wife, and the Virgin podcast, where we share our intimate stories and adventures of sexuality, relationships, and our own deep dives into our joy. And today you're hopping into the midst of a really juicy conversation that we've been having about setting up rules for ourselves versus honoring for others versus holding our own boundaries and loving each other anyway. So Lisa, please continue.
Why don't you set the scene, Jess? Because my comment is a reaction to what it is that you're experiencing.
Yeah, so I am back again with my partner, Josh. It has been an ongoing, will they, won't they? And it keeps coming back to we will. And as we hit like deeper and lower pieces of our own inner struggles of opening ourselves up to accepting and loving each other where we're at versus trying to control the other. And for myself and the work that I do, Josh has had a continuous struggle with it since the beginning, and trying to find peace in his mind about me sharing myself in his mind to other people. I view it differently. I view that he is like the one and only man in my life. But for him, he's like, you do sensual body work. You are sharing yourself to some degree with other men. And how can he reconcile that when, and his desire has been for months. He's like, well, maybe if I have other people to talk to, other women to play with, then maybe it will help my mind and psyche to be open more to where you're at. And I have been strongly resistant to it because I'm not sexually satisfied in these encounters. I'm providing a service through a hands-on only experience. So for me, in my mind, I'm like, well, you're having intercourse with other people. I'm not. It's not the same thing. I'm not sexually satisfied. And so there's this kind of like dance of we can't, like there's a, tit for tat almost kind of thing. And the last time that we broke up, we really thought we were done. It was really nasty. And we were apart for 2 weeks. And in that time, he decided that he was going to pursue polyamory. Is something that's been on his mind for a couple of years. He's really wanted to explore it. He's done a lot of feeling into it. And it just seemed like now's the time. So when we got back into communication, not with the intention of getting back together, he had stepped into that. So we went from one of our previous podcasts, me sharing about being in a female-led relationship, which was like, I was the one that got to decide who came in and who didn't. I was the one that like was really holding the space and protecting this. And it seemed really cool in theory and in parts of it, but it also exacerbated my uber controlling side that I have that I don't necessarily really show. I show it to certain degrees, but with him, like he really felt it. And each time we were getting close to an interaction with another woman, I would back out, I would retreat, I would freak out. I wasn't able to go into that space yet. I wasn't ready. So in the 2 weeks that we were apart, he went and had a bunch of meetings with different women. There was one particular woman who's married, who has kids, who's I don't know, just wildly sexually unhinged, I guess, something like that. So he's actually only had sex with her, meaning not with much other people, but with her while we were apart, thinking that we're gone, we're done. And so now we're in a space where he was just, as we're getting back into communication, that like, this is his life. And do I want to play or not? Do I want to step in or not? And being with Josh has been so beautifully confronting for me about, like, it really challenges the beliefs and the sovereignty pieces that I stand in and that I promote and that I embody and that I tell all the women in my life. And then I can't have my partner pursue his desires. I can't, like, I'm trying to hold him back from that. You know, it's been a really interesting puzzle piece for me to be faced with and how I want to show up. So Lisa was sharing some really deep wisdom and insight, because I have concerned girlfriends, including Ella, that's like, well, are you okay with this? Is this actually what you want? And for me, my fear, so much of how I operate, is the fear of losing him. And the thing is that if I control him or if I don't, if he's meant to be somewhere else where someone else is going to happen, and I can't control that. So, and me trying to control that makes it even worse. And so part of the mind fuckery for me that I'm going through right now is that the more that I let go and allow him to feel more free, because he wants ultimate freedom, the more he comes in and leans in.
And I was jumping in only because you and Ella were agreeing that there was work that he needed to do to process your relationship. And my response to that was that I didn't believe that he had that obligation, because he's showing up as who he is. This is it. Mm-hmm. He is who he is.
In this season, yep.
Mm-hmm. In this season, in this moment, this is who he is. And this, I've always heard in retrospect what the quote unquote problem is now. We had signs of it long before it was actually problematic, right? We saw it, right? So I was saying that 6 or 8 weeks ago, whenever it was, in one of the breakups, he had suggested possibly if you were going to continue to do this work, maybe he could have somebody be polyamorous and be on the side. And you were like, no, it's me or it's nobody.
Yeah.
And I love that he actually said to you, this is where I am. Do you want to come in and play, or do you can or you can't, but this is the life. This is my life today. And the shift in you is beautiful, because you are actually now looking at it as, I can meet him where he is and have him, but it means I don't get quote unquote all of him, because he's sharing himself. And he's even encouraging you to have other partners. But when I was going through the heartache that I went through with my husband, when he was in another relationship before I started dating other people, what I wanted to know when he was unhappy in that relationship, I just wanted to help him process it. I wanted to know what was going on. I wanted to know how he was feeling, and he couldn't share it with me. And I was so angry and frustrated that I felt as though they were treating their relationship like an affair. It was secretive. It was, he couldn't talk to me in front of her. He couldn't, there was, and she would never leave him alone. And the problem for me was, if I couldn't have the relationship I needed, why was I in the relationship at all? And I kept holding on. And Jess was with me, living with me at the time when I was like digging my nails in and holding on for dear life, because I knew that he would come around. But there was a point at which I just had to let him go. And the holding on to him wasn't keeping him from going away from me. It was keeping me from growing, right? I was anchoring myself into him, trying to keep a hold of him, making sure that I had him. And in the process of that, I delayed what was the growth that I required, right? And for me, it was, I'm never going to know what is happening with him because he's unable to communicate it to me. He's just unwilling or unable. What difference does it make? I'm never going to have the information I feel I need to be married to him. So am I going to be married to him anyway, or am I not, or am I going to stop? But I believed that he would eventually catch up. And here we are 3 years later, and he's so much higher. I've flown, right? Because it released me to start exploring and doing other things. And now he's catching up to me, and he's communicating, and he's having really good relationships. And our relationship is even better because both of us have our needs satisfied in the places where we can't get it from each other. So if Josh is feeling lonely, and this was definitely my husband's issue when I was traveling all the time, if he's feeling lonely and being with somebody else helps relieve that, that is something you literally don't actually want to help him with, right? If you want to be away, you want to travel, you want to do those intensives. So it gives you the freedom to follow your dream, to have a partner, meta, take care of his needs while you're gone. And your willingness to accept that is really what I'm finding extraordinary and beautiful, because I believe that you can find your way to being happy that he has somebody else, instead of feeling like you've got to fight the feeling that you could be angry and resentful about it. And there's a shift that you're going to have, and this light bulb is going to go off, and your heart is going to lighten the moment you realize it. And it is such a addictive feeling to get to the other side of that. So I'm here to support you in any possible way, but I hope that that's been a little bit helpful.
Yeah, it's super helpful. And Josh is here right now. He walked in while we were talking about it. I love everything that you're sharing, Lisa. And yeah, and I was with you through those times. And there were so many times where I'm like, should you really be with him? Because it was causing so much pain and angst and anxiety and, all of the things. I mean, you had to really dig into yourself. And I think part of it too was, like you said, being willing to let go and create a life that you love, and that he's going to come along for the ride, whether he can or he can't, or he'll meet you where you can or he can't. And like, he was living in California for a while. He was like kind of bopping around, and you letting him kind of find his way, instead of having like you need to be here and you need to be doing this and and just recognizing that he is where he is, and he'll show up when he shows up, and what can I do for myself? And so I resonate with that. And there's a piece that I don't know if I foretell my own future, but like I had this sense that like how, to me, I felt like I would need a deeper level of commitment with Josh to feel open to opening our relationship. And I knew that it was the inverse for him, that like by him being able to be with other people, it would deepen his commitment with me. And so it was a real paradox, and I knew one of us, who's going to lean into the other way. And I'm recognizing that it's me, which is a big, humble piece of myself to face. So, this is part of, I think, the exploration and even trust, right? So trust is a big thing for Josh and I that comes up a lot in our conversations. And he feels that trust is something that's built over time, which is true. And I feel like the only way to trust is by trusting. So there isn't like a proving of oneself worthy of trust, because we can choose to trust or distrust. I can choose to like lean in and trust that he's going to have the best interest in my heart, or I'm going to question and be suspicious, and it's going to create anxiety in myself and every moment that I'm in. And the same thing for him when I'm in my sessions and I'm doing my body work. He can trust that I'm upholding my boundaries and I'm loving him, or he can, and of course we don't have it, doesn't need to be an either or, and dichotomous key. And I know that there's a full spectrum of nuance in that it's not just one or the other, but you know, really how to like show up and support each other in a way that goes beyond acceptance, but loving where we are and celebrating each other. That's where I want to get to. That's my goal. Ella, what do you think?
Wow. As you know, wow. I mean, I guess I understand all sides. Of course, I love Lisa and her life. I very much respect all your lives, but I think I'm much more conservative. So it would be very, very hard for me as just what you're going, let him go, you know, and I don't know, see somebody else when I'm gone. I would have a hard time with that. So maybe I have a lot more growing to do as well.
Well,
Just a different way of looking at it. But I understand. I get it. I totally get it.
It is. Here's the thing. I mean, when our needs aren't being met, we find really we have two choices. We find ways to live with our needs not being met. We make compromises and we decide, I can live with this. I can be okay. Yeah. In the case of the bedroom, if I'm not getting enough sex, okay, I'll masturbate. I'll get over it, or I'll just deny that side of myself and find joy in gardening and reading and knitting and other things, right? Or you say, my needs aren't getting met. I'm out. I'm going to find a way to have my needs met. So that could create a divorce situation. It could create a dating situation. In my case, what it did is it created a polyamorous situation. And so I'm blessed enough, I suppose, to have created hold on just a second, to have created a community of men.
Yeah. A lifestyle that works for you.
I have created a community of men who cheer each other on in their roles to support me.
Mm-hmm. So right? I think in the case of Jess, where she's traveling, because I mean, she's going to do more of these intensives. So if it was me in her situation, in her and Josh's situation, I believe as soon as I wouldn't want to leave, I think I would have so much anxiety wondering what's going on when I'm away. I don't know that I could focus on my intensives. Again, not that it's right or wrong. It's just where I'm at in my mind. That's just the way I would be. I'd be a wreck. So I'm not in the polyamory thing yet, yet. I say I'm not there. So I would be a wreck.
Well,
they said, I totally agree. I completely agree, but I'm not there. Mentally, I'm not there.
I think it's a journey, and and also for me, I do get anxious, like even at the beginning while we were dating, and I was like, oh man, I know I have this trip coming up in like a month or two. How is Josh going to be okay? So I'm already anxious. It's already happening while I'm away. I'm like anticipating the messages that just start going downhill super fast, and I'm not there. Yep. I can't be there in presence. And we've been talking about like, what is it that when I leave town, that whatever things are in the undercurrent, maybe like on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe they're at a 3. And then when I leave town, they get to a 9.5. What is that piece? And that's part of the figuring out. And in my head, because I just approach my inner work differently. If there's something that's coming up, like when we've broken up before, I go see a therapist, I go do my inner work, I'm processing with my girlfriends, like this is my work. Josh in the past will go to the bar and he'll drink and he'll hook up with people, and that's been his way of processing stuff. And so I make him wrong for that. I make him wrong that like that's what he's doing. Why isn't he going into the places and experience and seeing deeper? Why is he having this kind of reaction? Why is he feeling these ways? Can he go into those feelings? And so, but that's the work that I do. So to Lisa's point about, I can't make Josh do the work.
Yeah, that's right.
what I call the
That's
work.
right.
And
Yeah.
I can choose to make him wrong for it. And I can say, you know, that's, you know, actually for a partner in my life, that's a high value, is someone who's willing to like really lean in and do the deeper inner work, rather than, in my mind, I see it as numbing, distraction, pacifying, appeasing. That's how I see those behaviors. And I can choose to be like, actually, no, that's not what I want for a partner. And I also know the depth of connection that Josh and I have, and it's such a beautiful love. And everyone, literally everyone who sees us in presence, they're blown away by it. And they're like, this is the kind of love that most people dream of their whole life, wondering if they'll ever find it. So it's the both and like, how do we hold ourselves in that space? So, but Lisa, I really like, and you mentioned it before when we weren't recording, about like doing the work, you know, like that is our work to do.
Yeah.
You're on mute.
Yeah, what you were saying is that he needs to do this work. And I was like, no, he doesn't. Actually, he gets to be whoever he is, wherever it is he is in this moment. And you get to accept him in this moment, because what I had to accept about Ev, I had to decide if he never did another ounce of work, could I live with the choice of choosing him at this, what I considered much lower level of higher thinking, right? Could I accept him and his limited beliefs about him, me, our marriage, and love him anyway? Because if I could do that, then we could go on with our marriage. If I couldn't, then I needed to end it for both of us, right? Because it's my expectation. I expect him to do the fucking work. Do the fucking work. Don't you see how fucking happy I am? Do the work. Be as happy as me. But if he doesn't want to do it, can I love him anyway, right? So I had to literally let it go. And when I let it go, I could focus more on myself. As I focused more on myself and followed my own path, he's like, I can't wait to catch up. And now this morning I read him a journal entry. Oh my God, I literally read him a journal entry from the week that Jess moved in with me.
Oh, really?
2019. And I was heartbroken because he was with the second relationship he was with, and she was flat out betraying my friendship. I don't have any hard feelings for the first woman at all, right? None whatsoever. The second woman was a flat out betrayal. And I realized that he may never realize how much I was hurting. And I would have to just accept that was his limitation, and could I love him anyway? So I did. And I chose to. And then Jess moved in and, empowered me, and we had all our fun. And when I chose, and this is the place that you'll get to, Jess, when I chose to love him anyway, and then feel empowered by the fact that I was choosing, I wasn't a victim of his absent-mindedness or lack of consideration. I was choosing to be with him anyway, right? And it takes the pressure off of him because I own it completely. And so with Josh stating, this is who I am, accept it or don't, you have the work to do to say, you know what, I'm going to accept it. I'm going to try it, because you can try it without him and find a man who can supply all of your needs. Or you can just be with him and enjoy it and dig into it and try it this way. If it doesn't work, you haven't lost anything. Literally, you have not lost anything, because you're trying it, you're at least doing something new, and you're owning the work that you have to do. That would be the way I would look at it.
Awesome. Well, surprise, surprise, we have Josh here.
Hello.
Hello.
And Lisa and Ella have seen the multiple rounds of us going in and out. It's kind of like a Ferris, merry-go-round, go around.
It's like a lot of things.
We get off the ride for a little bit, hop back on the ride. And I will say we've actually been very honest about our communication in our journey. And I think that that's also a very important piece, to say things as they arise. And so Josh has been listening in for the last, 15-ish minutes. And what would you like to share? What comes up for you?
I think that everyone's viewpoints are perfectly valid. I think that each person has their own experience, and we're balancing self-care with care for others, our expectations of relationships, our definitions of what's healthy. But I think the bottom line is that which is healthy is makes me feel good. And then the deep work is diving into, why is it that what makes me feel good makes me feel good? What is the source of my desires, and what are the boundaries of other people's actions? And this tangled web can be mentally exhausting extremely quickly.
Yeah.
Exhausting for everybody involved. It can be exhausting because you love someone and you feel a connection, and you feel, we naturally, human instinct is to feel a sense of ownership towards that which we desire. And that's the main thing, I think, that leads to jealousy and all the negative feelings about partners being with partners. And when you dive into that, if you have the mental ability and self-awareness and patience to dig, I think you could arrive at a variety of conclusions. The most common being, I do not accept losing that which I hold dearest, and my partner is mine and I am my partner's, and we belong together, and it's a violation. I mean, this of course has been accepted by the majority of religious institutions and societies since the beginning of time, and it's an interesting history to research. But I mean, we can easily get lost in this web. I think all the mental facets surrounding it are fascinating, but when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, it's a decision. Is my self-care adequate? Is my care for my partner adequate? Are we compatible? Are our values in line to give each other sufficient satisfaction mentally, physically? And that takes such a deep communication.
So for me, mental, just not right or wrong, but what based on the current situation you guys are in, for me, I go, why am I not enough? So it's my self-talk saying, why am I not enough to keep, you fulfilled if your guys' connection is like it is, or me and my partner like it is, why am I not enough? So that's what plays in my head. From my past, that's my history. And it's very, very raw and very, very real. I think a lot of people, I'm not the only one. And that just breaks, honestly, I just got to tell you, it just breaks my heart. But I completely understand where Lisa's coming from, and I 100% agree. But for me, that's where I would make myself sick.
I get it. I have that not enough gene, right? It's like I have that self-talk, and for there's, I would say that I'm obviously evolving, right? When Josh said, it was like, it's this human nature to own what we love and love what we own. That doesn't exist for me.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I'm not actually sure if it ever did, because I never was going to be upset with Ev having sex with anybody else. We said that in the beginning of our marriage, but I did have I have a sense of ownership, certainly, for our marriage, right? I want to be married, specifically married to him. But I've let go of that sense of mine, right? And that was something that Chiron taught me, was a level of detachment loving something, it's sort of the old thing, love something enough to let it go, and if it comes back to you, it's yours, right? But I don't have that level of ownership in my relationships. I'm not sure that I can unpack it and say that's kind of the way I've always been. I've always been a sharer. Like nothing felt only mine, but I would say that maybe that's only that's recent. Let's pretend that it's only happened since poly, and it's one of the things that I've grown to. But I am completely empathize with that not enoughness, and the whole thing about self-care. That is honestly the most important thing, is that we actually literally put ourselves first, and remember that we're more important than the other or the whole, right? That we do, without taking care of ourselves, we can't take care of anybody else.
And I just think that the relationship would be very different. I mean, again, not that I disagree with Lisa and the poly and all that. I just think it's different. So for me, it would be. It makes me really sad, actually, to hear, Justin, you say that. I mean, it made me, I'm still emotional. That's why I came up. It's like, it's my history. It's my past. It's not enough. I don't like it.
No.
I'm sorry, that's just me, but
no, it's not just you. I think that you're absolutely representative of a majority, 100, especially women.
Yeah, a majority of women. We actually just talked about it actually very much this morning, is like, I want to be the best. I want to be the best. I want to be the best lover. I want to be the best friend. I want to be the best, because I don't want to be not enough. And it's not an achievement place. It's not like, oh, I reached it, I am the best lover, check. No, it is like an ongoing, you keep that going. Like you might be in this moment, but if you don't keep, striving and like giving it your all, like, and there's a dis-ease in that I haven't like really owned. But the feeling of not enough has been that my whole life. Absolutely. And I absolutely not feeling enough. And I think too that that's what also drives us to the level of excellence that we've achieved, is because we haven't felt enough. So we've gone and really gone in deep into ourselves and our own, to me, in our own development and expansion. So it's like, wow, we have achieved more than most people. If I felt adequate and just okay, I would have to me, I feel like I'd have a mediocre life. So it's the interesting thing about like, how can we empower that piece of not feeling enough? But of course I don't feel enough. And the other thing too, is that if I know something's mine, then I'm happy to share. But if I don't know that it's mine, and that can be like my home. Like, I know this is my home. I have opened it up to people in ways that they've never experienced in their life. Like, I'm hearing that consistently with people who come in, how good it feels to be in my space, because it's my space. And because it's my space, then I'm happy to share. Like with Josh, if it's like, I know he's mine, then I'm more open to sharing, because as a kid, like growing up, nothing was mine. Everything that was, now I'm going to cry. Everything that was mine that I loved was taken from me. Everything that I loved was taken from me and handed over to somebody else, whether it was my younger sibling or someone stole things from me. And then I can't take good care of things. I don't deserve good things because it gets taken away from me. So not even to really love and treasure the thing that I have, because it's going to get ripped away. And then I'm going to have the immense pain of losing these cherished things that are treasures. And so like, these are the pieces that we hit up against in relationships. And that's what I was trying to tell Josh. It was when we were celebrating our 6 months of knowing each other, we had this like gorgeous conversation. It was like 2.5 hours. It was so beautiful. Oh my God. And then like that night, it was like everything was done. Like it started like the descent. I don't even know how, like the yo-yo, it's so crazy to like try to stay steady in that. But but having just like that understanding of, I don't want to lose him or this, and my desire to like wanting to help him feel the things he wants to explore, and doing it in a way that feels good for me, that I can still hold on to, but I still wasn't ready yet. And like, it's just such a dance,
I say, don't settle. That's what I say. Again, I'm just a little bit different. I understand everybody's in their own season, but again, you have to make sure that you take care of yourself. That's my opinion. So sorry, Josh.
No, that's perfectly valid. I mean, that's the majority. That's the majority view. It's a strong,
but I love,
it's a strong, effective
and I love
defense.
The other,
so
the
I don't reason it's different, and maybe it's Lisa's season where she's in. Maybe that's why it's okay with her. Because I think it's great. I'm like, wow, look at you go. I mean, it's really good to me. But for whatever reason, this doesn't feel good.
the what I can say in terms of the not enoughness is, this is something my girlfriend and I have been working on, is she, thank God, points out to me all the times I enter comparison, because I want to be the best in the world. I want to be the best. I want to fucking give the best blowjob that any man has ever experienced, right? I want my massages to be Sapio saying thumbs up. I want my massages to be the best that anybody's experienced. Like, and the fact that I give the worst fucking hand jobs makes me feel shitty, right? Like, I don't feel good. My hand jobs aren't enough, right? That's one of my Achilles heels. But she keeps reminding me, comparison is the thief of joy. If I don't need to be the best in the world, if I don't need to be better than Ms. Bea at turning on Luke because we did a threesome and they were hotter for each other than he was for me. If I'm in comparison, I'm unhappy. So every time I enter comparison, I work as quickly as possible to let that go and talk about the things that are uniquely mine and the things that others appreciate in me that they don't get in other places. So I can say honestly that I am the keeper of truths that people have shared with me that they haven't shared with other people, because I'm holding that space, that sort of sacred space, to be, if somebody can let that burden go, they can, be more them, right? It's just been a very wonderful way to remember that my not enoughness comes from comparison. And if I'm in comparison, comparison's the thief of joy. That if I am feeling not enough, it's because I'm in comparison. And all I have to do is stop comparing myself. I don't have to compare myself today to the person I was 30 years ago. I don't have to compare myself to you, Ella, or to you, Jess, or to my husband. I don't have to be in comparison. I don't have to compare myself to anybody, because the people who love me because I'm me. I love Jess for you. I mean, I fucking love you. And I love Ella, but the two of you offer two different things. And I couldn't choose one over the other, because I get something from each of you, right? We're all individually so precious. And that, I think, is why my sharing comes easy to me, right? Because I recognize that I get more from the body of the whole than by myself or with just one.
Yeah, I will also. Oh, Ella, do you want to go?
Oh, no, I'm just listening. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're gonna have to talk about this like multiple times. There's a lot in here.
No, I love it, and that's okay. And I appreciate you bring this up, Ella, because this is where we go. Like, to me, this is where we go. We go into those things. Okay, what is it about the not enoughness? What is the situation that happened? What is the story that you're telling yourself? How is this manifested in your life? And so I agree with all of those things, because we walk each other home, right? The Ram Dass, we're here to walk each other home. So, one of the pieces that comes up for me is, like, if I'm telling people do what lights you up, if I'm saying lean into your desires, if I'm saying like follow your calling, if I'm saying these things and I walk that walk and I embody that, and I'm professing that loudly to the world, and then I'm telling Josh he can't.
Yeah.
What does that say about me as a leader? What does that say about me as a partner? What does that say about me as a woman who's so about sovereignty? And he wrote me something, and he's like, I want ultimate freedom. And I was like, fuck, he said those words, damn it. Like, because that's what I stand for. And I'm like, okay, if I truly say that I stand for ultimate freedom, because I do, then how does that show up in our relationship? And what are the stories that I've been telling myself that I've been afraid of leaning into? And I also have enough history to know that when I lean into the things I'm scared of, they're never what I thought they were. And they're usually even more amazing. I have concrete proof of it enough times. And so there's that piece. So it's like, and then of course, how do I hold myself? Because ultimately Josh can't hold me. No one can hold me. I hold myself. So that's part one. The second piece I want to say is like, in the scope of polyamory, and, you know, Lisa's shared that polyamory isn't sexual relationships with other people. It's having intimate connection that helps with your emotional needs or your mental needs, or, you know, whatever it is. And in that scope, I am polyamorous because I have many people who fulfill these different parts. Like even one of my best friends, Jen, I learned the other day that like, if I want to be really celebrated, then I reach out to Jen, because whenever I share with her, she will celebrate to tears with me about like how excited she is. That's something that in the moment Josh couldn't fulfill for me. Maybe he can in the future, but in that moment he couldn't. I verbatim said the same things to her, and she's like, oh my God, I'm celebrating you so much, and I've got tears running down my face, and I know how hard you've worked, and I celebrate you so much. Like that was fulfilling a need that I had for myself that in that moment Josh wasn't able to do, or whoever it was, you know. And like how Harry has shown up for me in my life, even though I've never done anything, like we've never had a sexual moment, you know, in that what he's provided to being like this father figure for me, and he's been an anchor for me through this whole journey. Like I have such a deep love for him, even though I would never, you know, betray him or his wife or, you know, anything like that. You know, so it's like I have so much love around me, and I bring so much love to the people in my life. And so in that scope, I can see that I am polyamorous in big quotation marks. But to me, Josh is my primary man. He's the most important man in my life. We said that an hour ago to each other. And he said, what did you say?
And you are the most important woman in mine. Yeah.
So, and what does that look like? And how do we lean into these edges and these pieces? So that's where I am. It's like, if I, and he tests me, that's why I love it. Cause he challenges me so deeply, and I challenge him too. Are we really who we say we are? Do we really stand by the things that we say we stand for? And how do we lean into those things as these parts of us that are wounded or hurt or feeling inadequate come up? And his quote unquote hopeful work is that like when I go out of town next time, that we have a better array of tools and support for both of us, because I can't be present when I'm out of town because I'm worried about him. And so then I'm not able to help him. I'm not good for him. I'm not good for the people I'm with. And I'm not good for myself. So that is not a winning strategy. So these are the places and spaces, but I know there's something so deep with us that we know that that's an undeniable piece. That's why we keep getting back together. Or it's trauma bonding. Maybe it's a little bit of both, but like, you know, there's something really strong in our connection, and it's palpable.
Can you find, are you open to being in the space of gratitude for this woman that you're meeting today, and being just like big smile, so happy that you can know and be grateful for her presence with him when you are away, so that you can be focused on what you're doing? Do you think that you could get into that headspace and approach her that way?
I'm open to it, and it's not just when I'm away, right? So it's when I'm here too. So 2 or 3 nights ago, he went to have spend some time with her. And so it's like, I'm scanning my body, I'm checking in my conscious awareness. How's my body feeling? Am I okay? Do I need to reach out to him? No, I'm all right. I'm all right. I'm all right. Until it was like about the time that he should be on his way. And then I'm like, okay, let's go. Where are you at? Like, you know, and so that was like a big piece too, to hold. But again, like he can't, I have asked him, I'm like, just hold my hand through this. Don't like leave me in this space. Like I'll walk there. Maybe I have to go very slowly, but hold my hand in it. And that's kind of been my phrase lately, is just hold my hand in this. So yes, I'm open, and you know, I'm a powerful bitch. Like I know that, like, you know, that of course it's important to be loving and embracing as best we can, but I'm also not going to fake it.
Yeah, but I think that one of the things that you bring in your power when you feel strong, but also when you feel threatened. And I just want to invite you to consider she isn't a threat at all, because he keeps coming back to you. You're his anchor. And she's not nothing to him, but she's not you. And
so I'm gonna ask in here, because I don't understand this, right? And Josh is here. Is if your sex, I'm gonna use sex, whatever, intimacy is so good, right? I think if you have an amazing connection, it's gonna go back to not enough. I don't want to feed this, but why do you have to have somebody else? I don't get it. See, I'm in a totally different space, because I'm still looking for the white picket fence, a great lover, and, you know, 2 dogs and a cat or something. So I don't understand that, because Jess, I know you inside, I know you out. I can only imagine physically how you are. And I don't understand. If it's just for intercourse, I mean, surely you've done that once or twice. So that's all my shit in my head. I don't understand. But again, I understand where Lisa is. That's my 2 cents. I need to go think on this.
We all have lots of thinking to do.
My heart hurts for you, Jess. I'm just going to be frank. So, and it's hard to hear him say this. It's hard. Again, I'm super emotional.
I'm sorry. And here's what I'll say is that polyamory isn't for everybody. It is absolutely possible that Jess doesn't do polyamory. It doesn't work for her. And then the 2 of them get to figure out how to be a poly man and a monogamous woman and have a relationship that works for them. It may not be intimate. It may not be many things, but you don't have to be polyamorous. Polyamorous isn't the end all be all. It is something that works when it works. But if it doesn't work, it should never be forced. The opposite of polyamory is forcing somebody to do something that they don't want to do. So I love that you're willing and you're open, and both of you are trying to settle into something, so that it absolutely should be celebrated. Absolutely should be celebrated. So,
Josh, you want to answer? I do want to hear Josh's answer.
Yeah, I want to hear Josh's answer too.
Just to for the sake of clarity, the question was,
if sex with me is so amazing and incredible, then why do you want to be with another person?
Having an additional partner
hold on. What was it, Ella?
I mean, surely, again, you're great, right? You're playful, all those things. I don't know what else you'd get. Go ahead.
So there's a premise behind the question that you hold true, that it's a cyclical argument that one person, if they are amazing and the best in the world, the premise is that's enough to satisfy everyone's psychological and physical needs. But I don't believe that premise is necessarily true. Okay,
that's a different thing then. Okay, so you're truly like poly. Jess has to step. If in your season you're poly and Jess has to, either accept it or not. Okay, I get that.
Well, I'm not really sure either, because the experience hasn't happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
So this is an experimental testing of time and situation. I don't know where my psychology stands when it's actually settled. If it does settle into some sort of a poly situation, it's impossible to know because it hasn't happened.
Right. You're days into this, I'm assuming.
It's all theoretical at this point.
Oh.
It's lots of conversations and about psychology and understanding and each other's desires. And Jess is the most amazing thing by far that has ever happened to me, hands down.
Mm-hmm.
The sex is off the chart. Psychologically, we have this interwoven, natural, soul winding thing going on that amazes other people. We just stare into each other's eyes and feel a deep sense of connection and gratitude. I haven't seen couples like that before. All that being said, the premise must not be true, that if someone is the most amazing thing for you, ever, and you're never going to find anybody else better, that's enough. The premise is that one amazing person should or is enough to satisfy all the dark little recesses and rabbit holes of the mind. And I think that the vast majority of people don't allow themselves the freedom to expect to satisfy every single part of themselves. Mm-hmm. And we have a guilty conscience towards others. If you have a healthy, natural conscience, you will care deeply about your beloved partner and you won't want them to suffer. So in the pursuit of avoidance of your partner's suffering, you convince yourself subconsciously that you don't need to fulfill all the different parts of your mind. So ironically, we're trying to care for someone else, and we ourselves suffer subconsciously in the meantime. And in doing so, our partner suffers also, because we don't admit to ourselves that we're not 100% completely satisfied. Yeah. And I do love the most amazing person in my life, and I cannot possibly do better. And I will be monogamous in the pursuit of their happiness and mine. But when the mind opens a little bit and you start to want that freedom of ultimate satisfaction in every possible area, it gets very confusing.
Yeah, I get it.
And it really is a lot of ethical questions and communication with your partner. And I totally agree with Lisa. Of course it's not for everybody else. It might end up that it's not for me. We haven't done it yet.
Mm-hmm. Ella, I'd also like to just ask you, and I ask genuinely, this is not a test question, but it is where in your life do you only have one?
Well, I don't think you do. So I'm not saying, I think it depends on the type of relationship you're looking to build. Again, I go back to the fact in my head, I'm looking for, I'm going to use the word, the one partner, that I can, I can grow with, intimately with, mm-hmm. Mentally, physically, everything. I know this is a very interesting conversation for sure. I mean, I think especially since our conversations, my mind is open, but my soul very much hurts after this conversation. So I just don't want Jess to get hurt, I guess. So, and I don't think there's such a thing as 100%. He was talking about all the dark crevices in our lives, right? I don't think there's such thing as 100% satisfaction.
Oh, see, I disagree.
Okay.
I definitely disagree with. I think that is what we have been taught to believe.
Maybe.
I think that's what we have taught, that we have been taught to believe. I do believe that.
Yeah, maybe. I wouldn't want to hurt my partner in search of that. So I would let myself go.
Absolutely. Now, Here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
If Ev were sitting here next to me, he would tell you that I am not hurting him.
Yeah, sure.
By pursuing what I love.
Yeah, I get it. And again, there's no judgment on you. I love your life.
No. I know that you're not I know that you're not judging me, but I want to tell you that there is somebody in my life with whom I am on this journey who would say to you,
Mhm.
but I'm not hurt. Like, for instance, Sapio and I will be in bed in the morning, giggling and laughing at the wordles and the whatever crap we're doing. And Sapio will leave and Ev will turn to me. He says, I just love hearing you laugh. I am so happy when I hear you giggling with him. It makes him happy to hear me laugh and giggle. And he's not in a place right now where he's able to do that.
Get that, sure.
And he knows that I'm happy.
There's a piece to Ella in that, like, when we repress hidden desires and how it turns into toxicity in our life. And
Sure.
I've learned that in my own exploration of myself, that the things I felt like were bad and wrong and to not lean into or explore because they are things to be ashamed of or guilty of, created a lot of pain in my life.
Yeah,
And it still shows up anyways, because those hidden desires are going to show up and they are going to make themselves known. And that turns into people sneaking around. It turns into it can turn into addictive behaviors. It can turn into those things of like hiding and sneaking, which is like and I spent so much of my life hiding. So that's why I have such a high value on honesty, of being upfront, of transparency, of stepping in and like all that stuff. So I hear your pain, and I appreciate you caring so deeply about my heart and not me. I know.
Yeah, it makes me so sad. Say that it makes me sick to my stomach. So sorry.
Thank you for loving me as much, and I trust that, like,
it's my worst night. What he said was my worst nightmare. Absolutely my worst nightmare. And it's and again, it's my stuff, and I'm the first one to admit that. But it's just like, oh Jesus. Anyway, so this is a great conversation,
right?
Because we're all a great conversation.
clearly in different spaces.
And and this is not. You've seen my journey in my expansion of myself over the years. So I guess I'm ready to meet this next edge, and it can be messy and imperfect, and we can fuck up and make mistakes, and can we communicate along the way, course correct as we go and open ourselves up. Josh, you had something you wanted to share? You wanted to add?
Yeah, I think it was Ella's comment that all the dark crevices and desires of the mind cannot be satisfied. I probably agree with that. They cannot be.
Thank you.
But you can have permission and feel freedom to pursue satisfying them. They probably won't be satisfied. Okay. But the freedom to feel there's something I need to do to satisfy that dark place. The freedom to do it is the satisfaction.
Mm-hmm. I get it, but I say go do it, but don't bring someone's heart into it. That's what I say. Go do it. Go explore, but don't take someone that's truly. I know Jess's soul, and again, don't break her heart. And that's all I'm saying.
I 100.
Go do it.
200% agree with that.
Well, here's where I will intersect, because there isn't any part of my being that believes in any way that Josh would do anything to hurt Jess. What's going to hurt Jess is Jess suppressing her monogamy, her natural desire for monogamy, and grow to resent that she's being forced to be polyamorous in order to be with Josh, which isn't the case, right? So at this point, this is the moment when all four of us can agree that what's happening now is happening with both of them saying yes. It's the moment that one of them says, no, but yes anyway, that there's a problem. That's where the problem is. Now the responsibility is for Jess's heart is solely Jess's. Just Josh is not going to break her heart. She is. By suppressing her need to be monogamous, if that's the case. Or Josh is going to break his own heart by not being honest about Jess's career. And no matter how polyamorous he is, he's still unhappy about what it is that she does. That's where the heartbreak comes, is when we're not honest with ourselves and willing to tell the person who loves us most in the world what we need and how to move through it. It doesn't mean, if Jess says, I need to be monogamous, we have no idea how the two of these two people can be together and be happy until we talk about it, until they talk about it and are honest about what they're willing to do. And right now they're talking about it, and they're willing to do something different than they've done before. And this is the moment that we need to take every moment, every step of the way, is just continue to be honest, because I know that neither one of you has any intention of breaking the other's heart. And we've got to remember that when we believe that person is trying to, because that's the story we're telling ourselves. He's doing this on purpose to hurt me. He's doing what he's doing. Do you accept it or not? We're autonomous. We get to choose in yes or no. That's it. If we choose no, then we figure out how to de-escalate what we're doing. And
very well said. That's all I can say. So very well said. To be continued.
Yeah,
that is very well said.
Lisa is a champ. So yeah, I guess Lisa can, maybe I can lean in on you, or we can lean on you, Lisa, for as we like navigate this stuff, because I do want us both to have ultimate freedom. I want him to celebrate what I do rather than feeling like that there's an inner conflict, and vice versa. So there's like a supportive piece, but then there's also like the inner battle piece of like, she says she loves me, but then she's doing these things that hurt me.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is why I do the coaching. So if either one of you, I would be happy to do individual each and then together. But if we do together, then we have to do individual too, for the two of you specifically. That would work. And I'd be happy to support you in any way you need.
Awesome. Thanks. I love you. Thank you all. Ella, do you have any final thoughts?
Nope. I love the way Lisa wrapped it up. Thank you, Lisa, for always putting it all together for us. So thank you.
Yeah. Lisa is quite masterful. Josh, do you have any final thoughts?
I appreciate your attention and energy and conversation and being open-minded and honest with ourselves and with each other.
Well,
it's a rare and beautiful place where people talk like this with each other. I think it's amazing.
I'm really glad that we had a podcast with wholly differing opinions and really strong feelings, because most of the time we're having fun talking about things. And it was really great to get juicy and go a little deeper, go once. And I'm doing this on my TikToks right now too. I'm about to take it to the next level. And I'm ready to start talking about our origin story, because our polyamory looks good now, but it was messy as fuck when we started. And I want to be forthcoming about the journey, because it is a struggle, and Jess got to witness it firsthand. So
I did. Thank you both. Thank you for your love and care, and Josh as well. I think these are the spaces that we lean into, and this has not been an easy walk at all. It's been a huge challenge for both of us, for me and Josh, the last 7 months. And there's something so profoundly different and special about it that we keep digging in and leaning in. So Thank you all so much for listening to this latest podcast episode. Share with us your thoughts and feelings, and also know that we're here to help you out along the way on your own paths and journeys to self-discovery, satisfaction, and ultimately freedom. So thank you all so much for listening. Talk to you again very soon.
Want more? Head over to theplayfulpodcast.com for all the juicy things we have to offer. From there, you can join our community where you can get access to after hours, attend upcoming workshops and events, and even book a session. Bye for now.